Cities have always been associated with transformative ideas and novel social initiatives. There are two main reasons for that. On the one hand, a high population density allows cities to offer better services, education, jobs, and leisure activities. On the other hand, the population density brings about challenges. Both these advantages and challenges lead to technological and social innovation, entrepreneurship, creativity, and investment. Today, I have invited three guests to talk about their experiences in building cities. The episode is called We Build This City. The famous song that we have borrowed this title from talks about building a city on rock and roll. Cluj, Napoca, Łódź, and Riga were perhaps not built on rock and roll, but we are going to talk about the solid foundations these cities have been built on. So today my guests are Emilia Botezan, Head of International Affairs and Foreign Investment Department at the city of Cluj-Napoca in Romania. Rolands Bogdanovs, Chief Investment Officer at the city of Riga in Latvia. And Adam Pustelnik, Deputy Mayor of Łódź in Poland. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Perfect. So, as I mentioned, I mentioned some challenges at the very beginning, and these challenges have been particularly big over the last 2 years. First, COVID, which we have sort of forgotten about by now, and now the Russian invasion of Ukraine and large numbers of displaced Ukrainians coming to your cities as well. Riga, Cluj-Napoca, and Łódź are all relatively close to the Ukrainian border. How have you seen these challenges, and how have you and are responding to these challenges? And the question is open, whoever wants to, maybe ladies first. So let's start with Emilia.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yes, in fact, if in COVID, people didn't know really what to do, and they were kind of shocked that they were supposed to do nothing, just stay calm. On the contrary, when the war started, all the people wanted to do something. It was their way of contributing. So we saw from the first day of war, and this was totally amazing for us, that the civil society started to talk, to try to go to the border. And the mayor of the city, Mr. Emil Bok, said, okay, let's join forces, because I think this is what the city can do. It's this human need that everybody should do something. But if you give the people the feeling that you're united in what you do, you show commitment, and you show that there is a common will. So from the first days, we got together. And then I would say in historical time of almost 2 months since now, I think we already have pages of what we do, because we start documenting what we have done. So we have from a 24-hour, one-stop shop, giving information to Ukrainians, to working with the central government in order to employ, citizens. So yes, you're right. We were just thinking that everybody forgot about the pandemic. We are just remembering about the pandemic when we have to travel now across borders. It's like, how is the situation in this country? I feel that both the pandemic and the war situation showed that Europeans need to, work on their identity as local communities, but also having a common European identity. So I think if just summarizing, we learn resilience on fast forward. Really.
Thank you, Adam. Rolands, what's your take on that? How has Łódź and Riga responded to both challenges?
Andrew, you need to pick one of us. You need to exercise leadership.
You started. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
No. I just passed the ball.
But you've already started, so go ahead.
Okay. This is a topic really difficult to put in any pattern or to structure it in any way, because it was the war in Ukraine and its consequences. They I can only speak from Polish perspective, but they totally shocked us and showed how the Polish state in many fields is unprepared, was unprepared for such situation in many aspects. From a city like Łódź, we have approximately 700,000 citizens, the agglomeration more or less 1 million. Suddenly, in a couple weeks' time, 100,000 citizens entered our borders, our city borders, and approximately 8 to 10,000 kids joined the school system in 2 or 3 weeks period. It was something that no one could ever predict, and it was a total shock. But as my pre-speaker said, it was unbelievable how the activity of citizens in the society and many spontaneous activities, how they covered the imperfections of the system, of the legal infrastructure, of the lack of solutions. We pretty much solved 99% of the challenges and the issues, not by any systemic solution or not by some innovative legal framework, but spontaneous, informal reactions of people, companies, businesses, generally by spontaneous and just voluntary decisions and actions of the citizens. To give you a quick example, most of the, let's say, humanitarian aid was fixed in 24 hours by local business people, by universities, by many people that were calling each other and listen, we need, I don't know, medical devices. We need hygiene products. And there was no legal framework to do it through a tender system, for some kind of procedures. It was something that that happened through system of calling people, approaching themselves. Similar situation happened with the educational system. Paradoxically, we had to absorb, let's say, 8 to 10,000 kids in a couple of weeks, which is a shock for a city of 700,000 citizens. And people who spoke Russian or Ukrainian, they were just volunteering in schools and many other places. And many local companies, they contributed laptops, computers, totally outside the system. And how we will react to this in a more sustainable and structured way, to be fully honest, I don't know. There are legal acts being voted by the government and updated a couple of days later. I think that we as a country, we as a region, were so unprepared structurally for such situation that it will take some more time before we find a more sustainable solution and some systemic solution establishes.
Thank you very much, Roland. What about Riga? Riga is also quite close to Ukraine, and I know that at the peak you also attracted or adopted in a way about 1,000 Ukrainians per day. So how did you respond to that?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. I think the past couple of years haven't been easy as well. Previous speakers as well touched upon COVID, but since the Russian aggression in Ukraine started, or since the war started, really, nobody's have been talking about COVID at all. So yeah, it has been tough. And as you mentioned very correctly, at some point we had the rate of 1,000 Ukrainians entering Latvia and Riga specifically per day. Now the rate has been slowing down a little bit, but we still keep getting very big numbers. But I think our response was very quick, and we were quick to respond and gather our thoughts and gather our efforts. As simple as Adam said as well, by we just started by sending money, sending medical supplies and food, humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Then we also have organized 2 charity concerts with all the best singers and musicians in Riga to raise money for Ukraine as well. One interesting thing we did, and also the 2 other Baltic capitals did, was we named part of the street where the Russian embassy is located, the Ukrainian Independence Street. So now the Russian embassy is on that street. We also, to coordinate all the the integration activities and to help all the refugees and dislocated people to either find kindergartens, to find jobs, to find apartments, and so on, just to help to set them up for long term or for short term or for however long it needs. We set up 2 refugee centers with a lot of people working there as hired employees, and also a lot of people working them just as volunteers. So it's similar to what the previous speakers mentioned. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of activities going on a day-to-day basis, and we still keep getting a lot of Ukrainians flowing into our city.
Okay, so we were talking about challenges, and of course, challenges also create opportunities. And I have seen a lot of local actors from different parts of Europe, and not only Europe. These things happened also in even Latin America or in the US. Trying to attract. I'm talking about people trying to attract Ukrainian talent and tech talent and IT talent, which we clearly know is not going to happen, because a lot of people. A lot of those highly skilled people want to go back to Ukraine as soon as it is possible. But have you identified opportunities, or have you seen any solutions on sort of policy or policy level, or when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to digital transformation? And I'm talking about things in your city.
Yeah, maybe I can start at this one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, yeah, it's true that many great, talented people are coming, as I mentioned before, and some of them are looking for a job, and we're helping to integrate them and find jobs for them. Because, for many companies, it's not necessary to know Latvian. It's just enough to know English or Russian. It's perfectly fine. And a lot of the people are just relocating, and they are still working in the companies that are based in Ukraine, so remotely. And
yes,
that's also very possible. And they're asking for more jobs most of the time, most of the time, because they just want to take their minds off everything that's going on. So that's both for people that are still in Ukraine and people that are outside of Ukraine. They want to work as much as they can so that they could get more money, and they could put that money back into Ukraine so that they could buy more equipment, buy more gear, medical supplies and everything. But even more so than Ukrainians, I think, because from Ukraine, if you're a male within the age of 18 to 60, you're not able to leave the country. And if we're talking about IT talent specifically, it's very difficult, because most of the IT industry is male. But yeah, apart from that, there's a lot of Russian and Belarusian companies that are in disagreement with their governments, with the ideologies that the governments are running. So there's also a lot of Belarusian and Russian companies willing to relocate, full companies, closing their entire businesses there, and looking for places to relocate. But that's also another set of challenges, because most of the countries are not issuing visas to Russians, and with Belarusians it's a similar story. But there's a lot of talent that is in full disagreement with the existing regime and just want to get out.
Adam, how have you seen things or solutions implemented in the city of Łódź since the pandemic, and now the invasion started?
I've seen hundreds of provisions and regulations that have been taken, but as I said, everyone, most of the public servants will tell you that we are working on it, that we are prepared, and blah, blah, blah. But, the truth is we are not prepared. The situation is very very dynamic. Basically, those solutions that make sense and those new regulations that make sense and are valuable are the ones that deregulated many of the professions and made it accessible. Polish, let's say, public services offer to the citizens of Ukraine that left Ukraine after, I think, 24th of February, and basically the access to Polish public system or public privileges got equaled for the citizens of Ukraine with Polish citizens. This, I think, is very valuable. The Ukrainian citizens have access to Polish public healthcare system, to all the social security and social transfers. So I think this is something very valuable. Also, what is I think very, very positive and makes it easier, if you can say so, for most of the refugees, is the access to the educational system. That they can use the Polish educational system just like the Polish people, and the same with any social care. So pretty much right now, Poland totally deregulated and liberalized labor market, and made all the public services available to our Ukrainian friends. However, this is far from perfect. It is, let's say, the first step, because we notice almost every day with many other solutions how much work we still have to do, because the amount of people in Poland reaches 3 million in the country, in which 100,000 citizens. So those are enormous amounts. And the educational system and many other elements of Polish public sector is not the strongest, let's put it, or maybe even is strong, but not the best functioning. And it had many segments where it had its own structural issues before the war, and right now,
that has even,
when 3 million people
amplified.
entered the system, it even intensified. So generally, the legislation inclines towards the regulation liberalization and giving our Ukrainian friends the same rights and privileges as Polish citizens, but especially in fields of education, in some fields of labor market, we still see hundreds of homeworks that we still have to do.
Perfect. Let's leave the topic of the war and COVID aside for a moment. Let's look sort of more broadly on the situation in the city, and how you have imagined the city, or the public authorities in the city, how they have imagined the future of each of the cities, and what is your strategy when it comes to strengthening, innovation, strengthening entrepreneurship and investment, both foreign and domestic, in the city. And I'll start with Emilia, if that's okay.
Okay. Well, just wanted to mention. So you're right also about the opportunities. I think people are learning to be, again, more resilient and to look to what's really important in life. And with this lesson, we learn that we need to count on the local resources, on the European projects that brought us together, different levels of authorities with different stakeholders from our communities, even we are talking about businesses or clusters, or NGOs, to be a real partner in how we do imagine our cities. I'm glad to say that this, again, sense of what's important show us that maybe we should look more into the potential of the youth, because somehow everybody was referring up to recent times about, businesses and strong businesses, but we realized that we need to go as authorities to a lower level, to younger age. And we launch, so the pandemic helped us in two ways. First to start looking to see, to map what we have inside the city, because before that we were all busy. Second, to start missing the events where, international events where we were talking to each other. And during the pandemic, we managed to map the resources both on education. We believe basic that the education is the key for our development, because I work in administration for 20 years. Every time, every couple of years, I'm changing my message, and not because I change my mind or something, but because the city is changing. Still there is one constant, always saying that we are a city of education. And this is really the engine of the city, that it's less likely to change because universities will not close. Now, with that, we look into how to unleash the, let's say, this potential of creativity for youth. And we notice that the youth of today is not the youth in our generation. And my colleagues are coming from countries, we were always curious to see what's happening in the West. We look at the Western models. Right now, I really believe that it's a fair balance between what West can learn from us and what we can learn from the West.
Oh, definitely,
And
yes.
yes, so just as I'm speaking, I think my mayor is still in some live, transmission also on Facebook, because we launched during this time when we had the time to stay together and think what can we do, the first entrepreneurial project on innovation, and it's called Fix. And we invested more than €500,000 for ideas, with the potential to be transformed by the city into business idea or into social innovation that will help us solve social problems. And I would say that this online 2 years time made us understand, yes, we can be more, let's say, operational when we know the people we are talking, or when we are discussing the same subject and everybody's okay, but also on the importance of trust, that the people you're talking on the screen will deliver in time.
Yeah.
So I say that we put education and trust as the two main ingredients to grow our city. Our city definitely developed based on the needs of the pandemic, on the IT sector, so even more. But now with what is happening, and I know we shouldn't only talk about what's happening, but again, what is happening is really influencing the industries and the decision that are made in the city. So right now, for example, we are very happy to see that Romanian government gave the one local factory of medicine, to produce the entire need of iod, because everybody was getting scared. We are looking on how to invest more and do more smart solution in agriculture that was, somehow not our main focus.
Neglected
And
a
now we
bit,
see
yeah.
an opportunity in that. So probably again, it's going to be a very important moment when cities and mayors, again, I'm the local level, but I can see, sitting and working with the mayor, I could see how the local level in Europe, it's the role of local level, it's growing. And this is because everybody, it's coming from somewhere, and the solution needs to be tested somewhere, and then to see if it's working. Otherwise, it's just, as Mr. Vice Mayor was saying, sometimes the central government cannot be so fast. We learn also in this time that when we realize in Cluj that we cannot apply, we cannot take some decision because the law was not foreseeing something, we told the government, can you include that in the emergency ordinance? Because this is how we can help. And they did, or they moved on fast forward. So again, but it was about the trust they had in us, the relationship we developed in the last years. And I think that cities can also use this on board continuous on board. So don't feel, you know, like you have parties or that you have different interests. No, let's have a one vision, one boat going in the same direction. This way, I think that a lot of, let's say, different interests need to be more noble, you know, more diplomacy. And the local diplomacy, it's something that we also need to grow in order to be successful.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Adam. Rolands, how do you see you know, these aspects on your end in both Łódź and Riga? Adam, want to start?
I'll leave the floor to Roland.
Oh, okay.
I'll give myself the right to conclude.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah. Last time Adam took the lead, so now it's my turn. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, basically, I mean, Emilia already raised a lot of very important points, but I think that for Riga, the main thing is definitely broad and open cooperation and communication and open dialogue in general. I mean, I think the modern term is quadruple helix, meaning that the cooperation between private, public, non-governmental, and academic sectors. And this is what we're doing on a large scale with different ecosystems. So basically, with every economic area that is of high importance to the city, we're, you know, maintaining an open dialogue with the you know, responsible and the most important players. And the other important aspect is to, you know, foster the growth and development of the sectors that are already thriving and doing well and that are important to us and where we see potential. So we come up with a bunch of different support mechanisms and incentives for, you know, co-financing, co-funding different events, conferences, entrepreneurial education seminars and programs. We're also right now working on a workation programs for foreign companies to be able to come to Riga and work there for a week or so to bring in their team and see how it is. And then on a city level, we're also, you know, as a way to foster more innovation, we came up with a solution called Smart City Sandboxes, which allows to test smart city solutions and generally innovative ideas within the urban environment with small or little to none bureaucratic hassle. So it's just a lot of little things that we come up, and we don't come up with those little things ourselves. We come up, exactly as I mentioned before, in these, you know, through these open dialogue formats. Yeah, it's usually raised by the academic sector, by scientists, among others, and by the actual entrepreneurs. And, you know, they know best what they need. And as a city, I think we're the ones who need to listen and who need to help to intervene as little as possible, but rather to just, you know, co-finance little things here and there, and then, you know, make the business environment as fitting to their needs as possible.
Thank you, Roland and Adam. Now it's your turn.
After Roland and Emilia, they pretty much said everything. I mean, paradoxically, I believe that most of the cities are very similar in structure. We tend to differentiate them, but the logic, structure, movement, challenges, and issue are very similar. They might change in aesthetics, but pretty much a regional city in Romania or wherever has a similar challenges to Łódź, to Stuttgart, and to Riga. Of course, the wealth of those cities may vary. Nevertheless, logically, those challenges remain very similar. So, you know, our approach is pretty similar to what the colleagues have said. Nevertheless, I have one assumption, or let's say one opinion, after all these years working both public and corporate in M&A and business development. I noticed that the best thing public sector can do regarding any business ecosystem and any element of economic growth is to not to interfere too much with it, not to block, and remove obstacle that it creates on its own. I've seen many pro-business programs, pro-startup programs, pro-innovation programs. And the funniest thing on earth is that the cities where you have the biggest market, the deepest market, the biggest level of economic development usually either don't have any programs, or if they do, they totally suck in it. If you look at New York, they had this famous worst pro-innovation program in history, where several people were charged with criminal. They got criminal charges because of spending without any sense many millions of dollars. Nevertheless, New York is still New York. In my opinion, the best thing any city government can do is to create an environment that will be not offensive, that will make people want to live there, that will create basic tools for people to flourish, growth, start their families, build homes. And the second step is to create a stable, reliable, transparent, legal and administrative framework, and
leave the rest to the businesses.
Leave the rest to the businesses, to the world. And as I said, remove obstacles that administration creates on its own. When I look at my work regarding the biggest investors, no matter if I do it on a local level or if I do some joint projects with the central government, 90% of our discussions is how to overcome bureaucratic obstacles that the administration created itself. It's on some level, on some or at some point of the administrative process. So if you fulfill those three elements that I mentioned, in my opinion, this is everything what you can do to be successful enough. And important to remember that not everyone needs to be New York. There is a lot of spaces on earth, and this market is broad enough to have your share of the pie if you will create those conditions that I've mentioned before.
But I think equally that making sure that the talent is there is something that the cities can do. So I wanted to ask, because it's all about every single panel discussion really, that is about investment, that is about entrepreneurship, that is about innovation, sort of circles back to the idea of talent and the lack of talent or shortages of talent. So I wanted to ask you how you are trying to resolve this issue. How are you trying to make sure that in your city, in Cluj and in Riga, in Łódź, there will be an incoming or a growing pool of talent going forward? Emilia, can I start with you? You mentioned the education actually, but...
Yes. Well, actually, I just want to tell you that I have the feeling that the vice mayor was, the vice mayor of my city. So yeah, you're right. So similarities, and to quote my mayor, he always said that our biggest, job is to make sure we are not a break. So first of all, we not break stuff, So yes, I think that one interesting thing we managed to create in Cluj is the cluster of education. And Vice Mayor, you were totally right. Basically, when we ask this, companies or startups, what do you want the administration to do? Some companies said nothing, just do nothing. This will help us most. Some of them, when I have to introduce myself, is like I'm translating from Romanian to Romanian, and they're like, what? Yes, because sometimes you need to mediate to make sure that this department is understanding. So communication is the key there. And then most of the startups, and this is where it brings to your question, the talent, is that talents will come and will remain where they feel they are happy. So challenged, but not like this is impossible for me to succeed. We have very interesting comments, in events we organize, because people came to thank us for being human, for, you know, feeling that they can connect with us, because people in their minds somehow believe that bureaucracy is just something bad and they're institution. And we are trying to demonstrate that we are just human beings, you know, that we can talk their language. So to have this constant flow, you know, of talents, you need to make them feel comfortable with everything that's in the city, from, you know, universities who understand that innovation should be a priority in what they teach, in what they endorse in their spin-offs. Then labs where they can test some crazy ideas that may fail, but again, there is a place for you to test. And I think that we need to extend now from local to regional and to European, because, you know, there are not many, or yes, there are places, a lot of places endorsing innovation, but let's put a European map. What do we have in Cluj? We managed to attract this European project on future of work. How about colleagues in Riga or in Poland coming to test? Because this is European money. It's not European money only for the locals. Again, my opinion. And then in the cluster of education, we managed to put together municipality, county council, school inspectorate, and all the universities. Now, you may ask, why would you do that? And the answer is what my colleague said, because it's ecosystem, not ecosystem. Let's work together. Everybody is doing good stuff, but when people and talent see that the people they look up to are working together, they will come to that place. You know, it's of course digitalization, it's important for them, so always making sure that the internet is running, but also creating events. And we are very happy to host during the month of May an event that was born in Varna, you know, supported by European Commissioner Maria Gabriel. Now we will host it in Cluj with our Bulgarian colleagues. Our, you know, friends from Latvia and Poland are welcome to come. It's the InnoWave Summit. So this is an exercise.
I took part in this event, I think 2 years ago in Varna.
Yeah. What we do, we are just setting the scene. They will do the work. It's not our job to do their work. Yeah.
Emilia, thank you very much for talking about this regional cooperation, because I think that the more we talk about it, the more light we shed on that issue. And I think that there is still too little cooperation within Central and Eastern Europe. And I'm really happy that you mentioned that. Adam and Rolands, how do you see you know, the future of talent in your cities? And also, do you have any activities, any solutions to engaging, you know, the youngest part of the population in making sure that they will stay in your city and that they will be educated and skilled to contribute to that growth in the future? Adam, you're on my left, so it's like, you know, like you're reading the magazine or the newspaper. You're starting from the top left.
Okay. Listen, in my opinion, the best talent retention program you may imagine in any city, in any country, on any continent is the best foreign, maybe not foreign, generally job creation program. The best pro-demographic, pro-migration, and pro-talent retention program is the job creation capital attraction program. People, the vast majority of them, travel, move to places and live in certain places, not because they like the weather or because they like the culture or because they like the cuisine, but vast majority of migration is financial driven. If you would transfer London city to any city in Europe with those job possibilities and those salaries, the people would move there. Even if you would put them, I don't know, what's the most unexpected place, to St. Andrews, Scotland, they would move to St. Andrews, Scotland, because it happened in many places. You can observe it right now in my beloved Texas in US. The biggest population growth, the biggest migration growth and people flow in United States happened in Austin, Texas. And it happened not so because there were some particular talent incentives or some social transfers for the people, but simply because Elon Musk, Oracle, and many other companies transferred there because of the tax and capital saturation of California and because of the tax pressure by Californian state, and they transferred their tech businesses from either Silicon Valley or California to Austin. And right now, Austin just cannot service this amount of citizens that flows into the city. So, and they big business and high salaries, growing middle and upper middle class creates a lot of other jobs. Services grow, other businesses grow, restaurants appear. This is a very simple process. I'm not a fierce economic liberal. Actually, totally to the contrary. I've read Thomas Piketty's book twice, so I'm a big fan. Nevertheless, the truth is that people mostly migrate because of financial reasons. I'm from a family that has been migrating for generations. I was born and raised in Germany. Yeah, my dad worked in Germany for many years. My uncles still live in the US, France, or Great Britain. And they migrated there not because of fish and chips, not because of, I don't know, long history of parliamentary democracy, but they migrated there simply because they could do what they used to do in Poland for double or triple the salary. If you'll combine it with a pretty unoffensive social system, like it is in Europe generally. This is, in my opinion, our unique selling point towards, for example, United States, which is a way harder place to live and have a family. And I've lived there a couple of years, so I know what I'm saying. If you combine it with good quality of life and the city amenities, proper city services, and the city is just a decent place to live, in my opinion, you have a success. So the fundament is jobs. The second element is accessibility, life quality, the city amenities. And if you fulfill those two elements, in my opinion, you're there. In, I don't know, public transportations, many other fields, you can do better or worse. Of course, it's better if you do better. Nevertheless, if you will fulfill those fundamentals, that the city is a nice place to live, accessible, decent, where you have conditions to have a family, and you have a potential to grow professionally, that's basically, at least from my experience, the recipe for success.
Rolands, what about Riga and attracting talent?
Yeah, I mean, a lot was already said, but just to maybe add a couple points and summarize it, I think, yeah, truly the financial system and financial stability is very important. But in addition to that, also the legal climate, the business climate, and the general urban climate are also very important. And I mean, it is up to the people that are already living here to, you know, see the beauty in living here and to spread the word of mouth, because I believe that that's the most powerful, you know, marketing campaign that you can get. If a foreign, I don't know, foreign CEO who is located in Riga will spread the word of mouth to his friends, other co-CEOs or CEO, whatever, across the globe. And if he says this is the best place, you know, there's legal stability, financial stability, a lot of things to do on my free time. I mean, everything's here. Come over. You should bring or relocate or locate another business here. Is the best place. Same as like foreign students, they come here for studies. They love the city. There's a lot of things to do. They say, okay, to their friends, you should come over to Riga as well for studies. But in our case as well, you know, in addition to these maybe not hard factors, but soft factors rather, I would say that there should be sufficient infrastructure as well, because we've been lagging behind in real estate development for the past few years. So now there is a lack of supply in new apartments, and the demand has exceeded the available apartments for the exactly for the past 2 years. And Same with offices. There was lack of new office development. So now the pipeline for both apartments and offices are very promising till 2024 and 2025. But since they get finished, it's still, if there is a lack in supply, it's difficult to get more people to come to Riga. There's just no, if they can afford an apartment in new development, they'll definitely be willing to get that. So hard infrastructure is also very important.
Thank you very much. You mentioned this, these foreign CEOs sharing opinions about, what the city is like, what the quality of life is. In the Business Friendly Perception Index last year, where we asked FDI advisors and site selection experts in a survey, we learned how they see different cities across Central and Eastern Europe. And I have to mention Łódź ranked #1 as the most business-friendly city in Central and Eastern Europe, but there were categories where also Cluj Napoca came first, and this was smart city development. We also had Riga in a couple of categories in the top 10. So how do you think it is? I just wanted to ask you how important it is that you think that this perception, this global perception about your cities is growing, is developing.
Well, Andrew, actually, I just realized you invited the champions to your show, so thank you for that. And I would like to learn, from Mr. Weissmer, because definitely he has an eye for business, and it's always important to learn to see how others are doing. Really, it's my opinion that we should not just brag about ourselves, but be eager to learn from each other. I think that marketing is important, and I know Cluj somehow appears in a lot of tops for being smart, but I would say it's with smart cities inventing or doing smart things. Now the strategy of the city is now, or the label of the city is moving from made in Cluj to innovated in Cluj towards invented in Cluj. And this is where I think that my colleagues here made it a strong point, that people will go where it's, you don't want to miss out this opportunity. So definitely, I think the aspect, and I just remember we are colleagues with the city of Riga in a European funded project called European Pact for Integration. And the project is about how to make our city friendlier with foreigners living in our city, so we just realized, and it was an opportunity because of the project, that what we can do is to really look at the digital transformation and start putting the person, the individual in the middle, and say what the needs are, So because of that, we will create a platform. It's going to be a welcome to Cluj one-stop shop. But basically, referring to your question, I would like to say that yes, we really walk the talk. We really need to walk the talk, because at some point, the results, if they're not there, if you brag about yourself, but you're not sustainable, people will feel, people will see. So you really need to make sure that what you're saying and what you're promoting as a public administration, you can prove with facts. And people nowadays, they have so many ways to get informed. And yes, people visiting or establishing here are the best ambassadors. And we are very lucky, again, of the foreign students coming here, buying houses, Now, I would say that I really want Cluj to get the title for the wisest, place.
Oh, we need to develop. We need to develop that.
Because
Adam,
I think, sorry, I just want to tell you that from what our colleagues were saying, it's important not to make too much marketing and push the prices up. This is what we need to pay attention.
Adam, your take on the results of the perception, business-friendly perception index as well, and how important that perception, global perception, is for cities like the city of Łódź.
To be fully honest with you, Andrew, and I'm not saying this to say something nice to you, but totally honestly, this was by far the most important recognition that we got last year. and one of the most important recognitions that we got in recent years. We got a lot of recognitions, and this is, in my opinion, something very unique. First of all, because it touches something that I perceive as a fundament. I live in this. I'm not originally from Łódź. I'm, let's say, imported to the city, but I really like the city. I already have my kids here. I built a house, so this is full scale my city, and it is a very specific product. It is a post-industrial area, which is relatively close to the capital, with a lot of historic economic challenges. So I had in my strategy and in the strategy of my team and the people that worked on my position before, we had to very strongly focus on the fundamentals to develop economic perspectives and opportunities for people, so there would be enough economic power and enough economic muscle within the city for people to see that they have opportunities here, to stay here, or to migrate here. And I think that we were quite successful in this field. But as I said, it's not. We are not here to brag about our successes, because we had a lot of failures. But I will not go too deeply through those
failures. Are always part of the success, so we need to remember about that as well.
Nevertheless, your recognition was very important to me, because it touched something that we perceive as our fundament, and as a fundament for further growth in many other areas. This is one thing. The second thing is that it was a kind of a popular vote.
Exactly, yes.
So
yes.
There are a lot of competitions, or a lot of prizes that you can get through sponsorship, through various types of relations. Nevertheless, if something is granted to a certain location through an open vote by the especially by those decision makers that are vital to your success, from my perspective, this is something incredibly valuable, and not only to me, but mostly to the people around me, because I'm a face of the project, like any mayor or deputy mayor. I face those initiatives. I'm responsible for, let's say, the strategy, but 90% or even 99% of the work is being done by the people around me. They run the projects, they deliver. When someone shows them that the key decision makers, the market, appreciates what they do, it's a more powerful motivational tool than even 20% salary growth.
Thank you very much for actually explaining how the business friendly city index works, because indeed we invite over 100 site selection experts and FDI advisors to pick the cities that they think perform best across 8 different categories, and then the result, the final result, actually comes from that. Rolands, how do you think this international perception is important in the developing or meeting your goals as someone who works on attracting foreign investment as well?
Well, I also do believe that it is probably one of the highest achievements that you can, get awarded for as an investment agency, because business friendliness is what you're striving for. As mentioned previously throughout the discussion, it's our job to remove hurdles from the existing and new investors. It's our job to improve the business and legal environment. And it is our job to, do anything in our power to solve all the bottlenecks, to make the process as smooth as possible, so that the existing companies could grow and so that we could attract new companies as well. And for us, this is also exactly the reason why a year ago, our agency was established. Actually, it's just been a year for the Investment and Tourism Agency of Riga. But previously, there was just a small unit in one of many Riga's departments, and there was only a national agency for investments. But now the two of our agencies are working alongside to ensure that the business environment is improving, and that together we could attract more companies.
Thank you very much. The final question and a very short answer from each of you. The future, the city of the future, Cluj, Napoca, the city of the future. What does that mean, Emilia? How do you envision Cluj as the city of the future?
Europe will be what we will make it, right? As President von der Leyen said. So it's up to us to make our future. Future start as we speak. So it's really in looking at the youth of our cities, also balancing with the needs, and nobody should be left behind. I think this is the most important: to be united, to be open, to be transparent, and to be happy.
Thank you very much for that, Roland. What does Riga as the city of the future look like?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I think the key word for Riga is potential, because as I mentioned, for the past decade, we've been lagging behind in real estate development and in proactivity. So I do think that with our efforts and given that everything's going right, we might grow the city, double the size of it in terms of population, and it will look a lot different than it is now.
Thank you very much for that. And Adam, what is Łódź as the city of the future? What does Łódź as the city of the future look like?
Generally, our job in the cities are about future. I mean, we don't do what we do thinking about the past or for the purpose of the past. Each action that we take, each measure that we take or vote, we do thinking about the future and to make the future better. As banal as it sounds, this is the truth, that most of our steps are dedicated for the future. I think that something that would satisfy me, or at least bring it close to satisfaction, would be a city where people want to live, start their families, flourish, pursue their wealth and happiness. And if this will be massive enough, I will be happy.
So my very best wishes for all the three cities, and I haven't been to only one out of the three cities. So Cluj-Napoca is still waiting for me. Obviously, Riga and Łódź are cities that I have been to quite a few times. So now it's my time to go to Cluj. But I wish all the best to the three cities, and I would like to see the three cities as the future cities, as the cities of the future. Thank you very much for joining us today. The topic is inexhaustible. We could talk about that for a very long time, but thanks for taking the time to join us today, and see you in Cluj, in Łódź, and in Riga. Thank you.
Magnificent. Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.